The Krillian Empire had ruled the Andromeda sector for 3,000 years. Their warships were legendary. Their soldiers feared across 100 worlds. When they discovered the humans, they saw only another primitive species ripe for conquest. Admiral Theron stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominance, his 4 eyes scanning the small blue planet below. Earth, the humans called it. A single world, no colonies, no defense grid worthy of the name. His mandibles clicked in amusement. "Send the standard ultimatum," he ordered. His communications officer bowed. Tentacles working across the console. The message was simple. As it had been for countless species before, submit or be destroyed. Acknowledge the Empire's sovereignty. Pay tribute. Surrender military assets. Resistance would mean extinction. On Earth, President Sarah Chen sat in the emergency bunker beneath Geneva, surrounded by military advisors and world leaders connected via hologram. The alien message played on repeat, translated by their best linguists and AI systems. "They're giving us 72 hours, said General Martinez, his weathered face grim. "After that, they say they'll demonstrate their power by destroying our largest cities." Chen rubbed her temples. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Their first contact had been peaceful, trade with the Viridian Collective 3 years back. Nothing had prepared them for this. "What are our options?" she asked militarily. "None that end well," Admiral Hassan admitted. "Their fleet has 47 capital ships. We have 12, and ours are smaller, less advanced. Our simulations give us less than 5% chance of victory in direct engagement. So we surrender." Someone asked. Chen looked around the room. Leaders from every nation, every culture. They had fought among themselves for millennia, but in the past decade, they had finally united. The World Council was imperfect, but it was theirs. The thought of bowing to alien tyrants made her stomach turn. "No," she said quietly. "We don't surrender, but we don't attack either. Not yet." She turned to her communications director. "Open a channel. I want to speak to their commander." Admiral Theron was surprised when the response came. Most species either submitted immediately or made foolish threats. These humans wanted to talk. The image that appeared on his view screen showed a middle-aged female human with dark hair and steady eyes. She wore simple clothing. No military uniform, no royal regalia. This was their leader? "I am President Sarah Chen of the United Earth Council," she said calmly. "We received your ultimatum. Then you understand your position," Theron replied. "Your world hangs by a thread. Submit, and your people live as subjects of the Empire. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why 3,000 species have bent the knee." Chen nodded slowly. "I understand you believe you hold all the power here, but I want to offer you something different. Peace." Theron's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "You offer me peace? You have no leverage, human. We could obliterate your world before your ships left orbit." "Perhaps," Chen said, "but you haven't. You gave us 72 hours. That tells me something about you, Admiral. You're not a mindless destroyer. You follow protocols. You've done this before, many times. Your point? My point is that you're giving us this time because your empire values efficiency. Conquest without destruction. You want our resources, our industry, our people as labor and soldiers. You don't want to waste ships and troops if you don't have to." Theron said nothing. "The human was more perceptive than expected," Chen continued. "What if I told you that conquering Earth would cost you more than you could gain? That we would fight not just in space, but in our streets, in our homes for generations. Guerrilla warfare across 100 nations, in terrain you don't understand, against an enemy that would never stop. We have crushed rebellions before, I'm sure you have, but at what cost? How many ships? How many soldiers? How many years?" Chen leaned forward. "Or you could choose differently. Leave us in peace. Establish a trade agreement. We have resources, technologies you might find useful. We could be partners instead of subjects." Theron's expression hardened. "The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. You have 72 hours. Choose wisely. The channel closed. In the bunker, General Martinez shook his head. That didn't work. I didn't expect it to, Chen admitted. But I needed to see him, hear him. I needed to understand what we're dealing with. And he's a soldier following orders. Professional, efficient, but not cruel for cruelty's sake. The Empire is a machine, and he's a cog in it. They've conquered so many worlds that this is routine for them. She stood, pacing the room. But we're not routine. We need to show them that. Admiral Hassan, begin Operation Exodus. I want every civilian evacuation plan activated. Priority to children and genetic diversity. If this goes wrong, humanity survives somewhere, militarily. Martinez asked, begin mobilization, but do not engage. I want every defense platform online, every ship ready, but no one fires unless they fire first. In 60 hours, I'm going to make one more offer. A real one. What kind of offer? Chen smiled grimly. The kind that will either save us or doom us. I'm going to show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Not our weapons. Our will. Aboard the Dominance, Theron reviewed intelligence reports on Earth. The planet was indeed primitive by Imperial standards. But something nagged at him. His analysts had noticed unusual activity across the human world. They're evacuating cities, his intelligence officer reported. Massive civilian movements to underground facilities. They're preparing for invasion, expected Theron said. But was it? Most species panicked, descended into chaos. These humans were organizing, moving with purpose and coordination. He pulled up historical data on species that had resisted the Empire. Most had been crushed within weeks. A few had lasted months. Only one, the Korvax hegemony, had fought for years before finally falling. But the Korvax had been a spacefaring empire themselves, with dozens of worlds and advanced technology. These humans had one world and primitive ships, so why did Theron feel uneasy? He watched surveillance feeds of Earth. Massive construction projects had begun overnight. Civilians weren't just hiding. They were building. Factories retooled. Military bases expanded. Orbital platforms repositioned, and everywhere. Strange symbol appeared, a blue planet with a white dove, crossed out in red. Unity through resistance. Increased surveillance, Theron ordered. I want to know everything about these humans. Their history, their psychology, their warfare. If we have to invade, I want no surprises. As his crew worked, Theron couldn't shake a feeling he'd had only once before, decades ago. When a junior officer facing his first conquest, these humans were preparing for something. Not surrender. Not even just defense. They were preparing to teach the Empire a lesson. And despite 3,000 years of victories, despite his 47 warships and experienced soldiers, Admiral Theron felt the first whisper of doubt. The countdown continued. 60 hours remained. 50 hours remained when Sarah Chen addressed the entire planet. Every screen, every device, every communication channel carried her message. She stood before the camera, not in the bunker, but in the open air of Geneva, with the mountains visible behind her. People of Earth, she began. We face an enemy that has conquered thousands of worlds. They have given us a choice. Submit or die. Many of you are afraid. That's natural. That's human. But I want you to remember something about who we are. She paused, gathering her thoughts. We are the species that looked at the stars and decided to reach them. We are the people who faced ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters, and survived every single time. We are descended from ancestors who climbed down from trees with nothing but sharp rocks and became the dominant force on our planet. Not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we refused to give up. Across Earth in shelters and homes and military bases, people watched. Some cried, some steeled themselves. All listened. The Carillion Empire thinks we're weak because we have one world. They think we're primitive because our ships are few. They don't understand that our strength has never been in our technology. It's in our spirit. Every nation, every culture on this planet has a history of standing against impossible odds. Today we don't stand as Americans or Chinese or Nigerians or Russians. We stand as humans. She looked directly into the camera. I will offer them peace one more time. Not because we're afraid, but because peace is always worth trying. But if they refuse, if they choose to make war on our home, then let them learn what 3,000 conquered species couldn't teach them. That there are some beings in this universe who will not bow. In orbit. Monitoring the transmission, Admiral Theron felt his unease grow. This wasn't the speech of a leader preparing surrender. This was a battle cry. She's rallying them, his second officer observed. Classic pre-war propaganda. No, Theron said slowly. It's more than that. She's unifying them. Look at the response data. Across Earth, the speech was having an effect. Crime rates had dropped to 0. Production in factories had increased by 40%. Volunteer rates for military service had exceeded capacity. These humans were transforming from a collection of squabbling nations into something else. A hive mind? No, they retained individuality. But they were operating with single-minded purpose. 30 hours before the deadline, Chen opened another channel to the dominance. This time Theron saw she was flanked by others. Military leaders in different uniforms. Civilians in work clothes. Scientists in lab coats. A visual representation of their united front. Admiral Theron, Chen said formally, I come to offer peace a second time, not as a subject pleading with a master, but as one civilization to another. You have nothing to negotiate with, Theron replied, but his voice carried less certainty than before. We have everything to negotiate with, Chen countered. We have knowledge you don't possess, technologies you haven't seen. But more importantly, we have something your empire has forgotten, the memory of what it means to choose. She gestured, and data began streaming to the dominance. Theron's eyes widened as he saw it. Mathematical formulas, scientific theories, medical breakthroughs. The humans were sending them gifts. Advanced theoretical physics they'd developed in just the last decade. Quantum computing architectures. Biological sciences the Empire had never explored because they'd always simply taken what they needed from conquered worlds. This is a fraction of what we could share, Chen said. Freely. As partners. We're young, Admiral, but we're not stupid. We've accomplished in a few centuries what took your empire millennia. Not because we're better, but because we approach problems differently. Every human on this planet comes from a different background, a different way of thinking. That diversity makes us strong. Theron was silent, studying the data. His science officers were already confirming its validity. Some of these theories could revolutionize imperial technology. Why show us this? He finally asked. Because I want you to understand what you'll destroy if you attack us. Not just lives, but potential, innovation, partnership. The Empire has grown stagnant, hasn't it? 3,000 years of conquest, and what have you created? You've preserved yourselves through domination, but at what cost? Chun's voice softened. I've studied your history, Admiral. The records we could access through the Viridian Collective. The Krillian Empire wasn't always conquerors. Your ancestors were explorers, scientists, artists. What happened? Theron's mandibles tightened. She'd struck a nerve. The ancient histories were forbidden to most citizens, but he knew them. The Empire had indeed been different, before the Great Collapse, before survival had meant becoming predators. The galaxy is harsh, he said. We learned that mercy was weakness, No Chen said firmly. You learned that subjugation was easier than cooperation. But it's a lie, Admiral. Every species you've conquered, you've had to garrison. Every rebellion you've crushed has cost you resources and lives. You're not building an empire. You're maintaining a prison, and we will not be prisoners. She leaned forward. So here's my final offer. Leave Earth alone. Establish a trade agreement, a cultural exchange. Let us prove that partnership is stronger than domination. We're offering you not just resources, but a new way forward, a better way. And if we refuse, Chun's expression hardened. Then you'll learn why humanity has a saying, we offered peace first. It won't be a threat or a boast. It'll be a historical fact that we tried. What comes after will be on you. Theron was about to respond when alarms blared across the dominance. His tactical officer shouted a warning. Admiral. Multiple energy signatures across Earth's surface. They're powering something up. Energy readings are off the scale. On the view screen, Chen smiled grimly. You wanted to see our defenses, Admiral? Let me show you what we built in 3 days. Across Earth. Massive installations that the Krillians had dismissed as civilian constructions suddenly revealed their true nature. They weren't shelters. They were weapons platforms. Railguns, the size of skyscrapers. Particle beam emitters, powered by entire city grids. Missile silos containing warheads that made nuclear weapons look primitive. But that wasn't what made Theron's blood run cold. They're linked, his tactical officer said in disbelief. Every installation, every defense platform, every ship. It's all one network. One targeting system. Admiral, they've turned their entire planet into a weapon. Chen's voice cut through the chaos. We call it Project Unity. Every power plant, every computer, every resource on Earth connected to a single defensive grid. You wanted to attack one city. You'd have to fight the entire planet simultaneously. Every weapon, every soldier, every citizen coordinated through quantum-link systems that respond faster than your fleet can maneuver. Theron stared at the tactical display. It was insane. Brilliant and insane. The humans had weaponized their entire civilization in less than 72 hours. You're bluffing, he said. You'd destroy your own world defending it. Try us, Chen said quietly. Every person on this planet voted. Unanimous decision. We'd rather die free than live as slaves. That's the difference between us, Admiral. Your soldiers fight because they're ordered to. Ours fight because they choose to. She gestured to the people flanking her. I'm not a dictator commanding obedience. I'm a representative of 8 billion individuals who have decided, together, that our freedom is worth any price. Your empire has forgotten what that kind of conviction looks like. Theron's tactical officer was running simulations. Admiral, if they're not bluffing about the coordination, we could take the planet, but losses would be catastrophic. Estimated 70% fleet casualties, and that's if they don't have additional surprises. They have more, Theron said with certainty. This species is full of surprises. He looked at Chen. You risked everything on this gamble. It's not a gamble when you're certain of your choice, she replied. What's your answer, Admiral? Partnership or war? The bridge was silent. The countdown showed 12 hours remaining. Theron faced the hardest decision of his long career. Admiral Theron stood alone in his private chambers aboard the Dominance. Before him floated a holographic display showing Earth in all its complexity. The blue planet looked deceptively peaceful. He now knew it was a coiled spring ready to unleash destruction. He had sent a message to High Command requesting guidance. The response would take hours at faster-than-light speeds, but protocol demanded it. Meanwhile, his fleet waited in tense anticipation. What the humans didn't know was that Theron had studied Earth more carefully than any previous conquest. He'd watched their entertainment broadcasts, their historical records, their artistic expressions. He'd seen patterns that disturbed him. Humans were not like other species. They glorified their warriors, but also their peacemakers. They celebrated victory, but also sacrifice. Every culture on that planet had stories of individuals standing against impossible odds. David versus Goliath. Spartans at Thermopylae. Soldiers holding bridges against armies. Protesters facing tanks with nothing but conviction. These weren't just stories. They were blueprints for how humans saw themselves. His intelligence officer interrupted his thoughts. Admiral, we've completed analysis of the defense network they revealed. It's genuinely impressive. The coordination algorithms alone represent advances we haven't achieved. And there's something else. Show me. The hologram shifted, displaying energy signatures across Earth's surface. These readings suggest they have weapons we can't fully identify. Power sources that don't match any known technology. They've been innovating at an accelerated rate since first contact with the Viridians. Theron clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. They're adaptable. They saw what was possible and immediately began improving it. There's more, sir. We intercepted civilian communications. They're not afraid. Oh, some individuals are, of course, but as a whole, the population appears to be excited. They're treating this as a challenge to overcome, not a disaster to survive. That was what truly unsettled Theron. In his experience, species facing the empires might reacted with terror or anger or resignation. These humans seemed almost eager to prove themselves. On Earth, President Chen was meeting with her inner circle. The show of force had been necessary, but it was also a gamble. Project Unity was real, but its actual combat effectiveness was untested. They'd built it in record time through unprecedented global cooperation. But would it work? "Ma'am, we're getting reports from civilian sectors," her aide said. "People are asking what they can do to help." Chen smiled despite the tension. "What are they offering?" "Everything. Factory workers volunteering for extra shifts, scientists sharing research freely, programmers offering code." One message came from a 12-year-old who wants to help with calculations. Another from a restaurant owner offering to feed soldiers. They're calling it the Unity Movement. General Martinez shook his head in wonder. "In my 40 years of service, I've never seen anything like this. It's as if the entire species woke up." "Because we did," Chen said. "For the first time in our history, we're facing something that doesn't care about our differences. The Empire doesn't care if you're rich or poor, American or Chinese, religious or atheist. To them, we're all just resources to exploit. That clarity is powerful." Admiral Hassan pulled up tactical displays. "If they attack, our simulations give us better odds now. Not good odds, but better. The planetary defense grid is operational. Our ships are positioned. We can hurt them badly, but can we win?" Someone asked. Hassan hesitated. "Define win. Can we destroy their fleet? Likely. Can we make them pay such a high price that conquest becomes pointless? Yes. Can we ensure humanity survives even if Earth falls? We have the evacuation ships ready." Chen nodded. "Then we've done what we can. Now we wait for Theron's response." The response came not from Theron, but from the Empire itself. High Command had reviewed the situation and issued clear orders: make an example of Earth. The Emperor himself had been informed of humanity's defiance, and he would not tolerate it. If word spread that a primitive species had resisted successfully, it could inspire rebellion across the Empire. Earth must be subjugated or destroyed. Theron received these orders with a heavy heart. He had hoped for discretion, for the possibility of negotiation. But the Emperor's word was absolute. He opened a channel to President Chen. Her face appeared, composed but alert. She'd been expecting this. "President Chen," Theron said formally, "I have received orders from High Command. The Empire demands your surrender within 6 hours. If you refuse, we will commence bombardment of your major population centers as a demonstration of our power. After that, we will land forces and subjugate your world by whatever means necessary." Chen's expression didn't change. "I see, and there's no room for negotiation. The Emperor himself has taken an interest in your world. He views your resistance as an insult to his authority." "Then the Emperor is a fool," Chen said bluntly. Theron's mandibles clicked in surprise. "No one spoke of the Emperor that way," Chen continued. "He's so concerned with authority that he can't see opportunity. We could have been his greatest allies. Instead, he'll make us his most persistent enemies." "You cannot win this war," Theron said, but there was something in his voice. "Doubt? Regret?" "Maybe not," Chen acknowledged. "But we'll make sure you remember us. Every human life you take will cost you 10 trillion lives. Every city you destroy will inspire 1,000 resistant cells. You'll win the battle for Earth, Admiral, but you'll lose something more important: the illusion that the Empire is invincible." She stood, and behind her, Theron could see the flags of every nation on Earth displayed together. "I'm going to address my people now. We have 6 hours to prepare. But before I go, I want you to know something." "What?" "We offered you peace first. I want that in whatever records survive this. Humanity tried. We reached out. We offered partnership, knowledge, and friendship. What happens next is not our choice. It's yours." The channel closed. Theron sat in silence. Around him, his crew prepared for battle, but his mind was elsewhere. He thought of his own children, safe in the Imperial core worlds. He thought of the countless species the Empire had conquered, their cultures absorbed or destroyed. He thought of what the Krillian Empire had once been, before fear and power had corrupted its purpose, and he thought of the human leader's words, "We offered peace first." In the Empire's 3,000-year history, how many times had they offered peace first? How many species had they even given the chance to negotiate as equals? None. The answer was none. His communications officer spoke up. Admiral monitoring indicates massive civilian movements on Earth. They're gathering in public spaces. Theron brought up the surveillance feeds. Across Earth, in every major city, humans were assembling. Not in panic or chaos, but in organized gatherings. They stood in Times Square, in Tiananmen Square, at the Eiffel Tower. Before the Taj Mahal, millions of them, holding lights, holding hands. Holding children, they were singing every culture, every language, but the melody was the same. A song of defiance. A song of hope. A song that said, "We are here, we are united, and we will not surrender." Theron's second officer watched the feeds with professional detachment. Should we classify this as a military target? They're clearly organizing for resistance. No, Theron said quietly. They're not organizing for resistance. They're saying goodbye to the world they knew. They're preparing to become something else. What do you mean? Theron gestured at the screens. Look at them. Really look. They're not soldiers. They're civilians, families, children. But in 6 hours, every one of them will be a fighter. The Empire is about to create 8 billion guerrilla warriors who have nothing left to lose. He stood, making a decision that would define his legacy. Send a message to the fleet. All ships are to hold position. No aggressive actions until I give the order. But Admiral, the Emperor's command? I'm aware of the command, Theron snapped. But I'm the Admiral of this fleet, and I will not begin a massacre without being absolutely certain it's necessary. Open a channel, not to Chen, to everyone on Earth. His crew stared at him in shock, but they obeyed. Across Earth, every screen, every device, every communication channel suddenly showed the image of Admiral Theron. People stopped singing. They watched, and Theron began to speak. 8 billion humans watched as the alien admiral's face filled their screens. In the Geneva bunker, Sarah Chen held her breath. This was unprecedented. People of Earth, Theron began, his voice translated into every human language simultaneously. I am Admiral Theron, of the Krillian Imperial Fleet. For 3 decades, I have served the Empire. I have overseen the subjugation of 17 worlds. I've never questioned my orders or my purpose. He paused, his 4 eyes seeming to look at each viewer individually. Until now. Out in the streets, in the shelters, in homes across the planet, humans listened in stunned silence. Your president told me that humanity offered peace first. This is true. She also told me that what happens next is my choice. This is also true. I have orders from the Emperor himself to destroy your world if you do not submit. But I find myself questioning these orders. Theron's image shifted, showing historical records. The Krillian Empire was not always what it is now. We were once explorers, seekers of knowledge. We believed in the value of all sentient life. But 3,000 years ago, we faced annihilation. An enemy sought to destroy us completely. We survived by becoming stronger, harder, more ruthless. We vowed never to be victims again. Images flowed across screens. Conquered worlds. Destroyed civilizations. The price of the Empire's survival, in saving ourselves, we lost ourselves. We became the thing we once feared. And for 3 millennia, we have told ourselves that this was necessary. That domination was the only path to security. Your president challenged that belief. In the Dominance's bridge, Theron's officers watched their admiral with growing alarm. This was treason. This was career-ending, possibly life-ending. But none moved to stop him. She offered partnership instead of submission. cooperation instead of conquest. And she backed her words with something I have rarely seen: genuine strength. Not the strength of weapons, though yours are impressive. The strength of unity, of choice, of 8 billion individuals deciding together that freedom matters more than survival. Theron's mandibles clicked, a gesture of respect in Krillian culture. I am a soldier. I follow orders. But I am also thinking and I have realized something in these past hours. The Empire is afraid. Afraid of change. Afraid of challenge. Afraid of species like yours, who remind us of what we abandoned. He leaned forward, his voice intensifying. So I make my choice. I will not destroy Earth. I will not subjugate humanity. Instead, I will return to the Empire and report that Earth's defenses are too formidable to justify the cost of conquest. I will recommend that the Emperor establish formal relations with your world as an independent entity. Across Earth, 8 billion humans erupted in shock, hope, and disbelief. But Theron wasn't finished. However, I must be honest with you. The Emperor may not accept my recommendation. He may send another fleet, another admiral less conflicted than I. You are not safe. Your defiance has been noted, and the Empire does not forget. Sarah Chen was already moving, opening a direct channel to the dominance. Admiral Theron, this is President Chen. What are you really saying? Theron's face turned to address her directly. I am saying that you have won today's battle without firing a shot. But the war is not over. The Empire will return in one form or another. You need to be ready. Then why tell us this? Why warn us? Because you offered peace first, Theron said simply. Because in 3,000 years of service to the Empire, no one has ever challenged me to be better. You reminded me that there are choices beyond domination and submission. That is worth preserving. He transmitted a data package. These are the Empire's strategic protocols, fleet compositions, and communication codes. Current versions, they will change, but this will give you time to prepare. Consider it payment for the gift of knowledge you offered me. Chen's eyes widened. You're committing treason. Yes, Theron acknowledged. But it is the right kind of treason. My ancestors would understand. On the Dominance's bridge, Theron's second officer finally spoke. Admiral, if you do this, the Emperor will execute you. I know, Theron said calmly. But I am old. I have served long enough to see what the Empire has become. If my final act can be to plant the seed of its transformation, then I accept that price. He turned back to the channel with Chen. President Chen, I give you and your species a warning and a gift. The warning: prepare for war. The Empire will not let your defiance stand. Build your ships, strengthen your defenses, seek allies among the stars. You will need them all. And the gift: hope, Theron said. The knowledge that the Empire is not as strong as it appears. There are others like me who remember what we were, who question what we have become. Your example may inspire them. Resistance may spread. Change may come. He stood at attention, a gesture of respect. You fought today with words and will instead of weapons. You proved that strength comes not from domination but from unity. That is a lesson the galaxy needs to learn. I hope you survive to teach it. The transmission ended. Aboard the Dominance, alarms suddenly blared. Theron's tactical officer shouted in alarm. Admiral. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Unknown configuration. They're positioning between us and Earth. On the view screen, 7 ships appeared. They were smaller than the Krillian vessels, but sleeker, more advanced. Their hulls bore the markings of the Viridian Collective. A new communication channel opened. A Viridian commander appeared, their crystalline features catching the light. This is Commander Eurus of the Viridian Defense Fleet. We have monitored this situation with great interest. Earth is under our protection as a trade partner and ally. We suggest the Krillian Empire reconsider any aggressive actions. Theron couldn't help but click his mandibles in what might have been amusement. The humans had made allies. Of course, they had another channel opened. This time, a different species. Then another. 5 different civilizations. All declaring their support for Earth's independence. Sarah Chin's voice came through on a private channel to Theron. It seems we made more friends than we knew. The Viridians reached out to other species when they learned of the Empire's ultimatum. Apparently, there are many in the galaxy tired of your Emperor's expansion. Planned this, Theron said, impressed despite himself. We prepared for every possibility, Chen replied. But we still offered you peace first. We meant it. And we're offering it again now. Return to your empire. Tell them Earth is more trouble than it's worth. Or stay and witness the birth of something new, an alliance of free worlds. Theron looked at his tactical displays. His fleet still outnumbered the combined force facing him, but barely. And the humans had shown they were full of surprises. More importantly, he had already made his choice. I will return to the Empire, he said formally, and I will deliver your message. But President Chen, know this. The Empire will not forget. This is not over. Nothing worth fighting for is ever truly over, Chen replied. But maybe one day we'll meet again, as friends, instead of enemies. Perhaps, Theron said. If we both survive, what comes next? He issued orders to his fleet. The Krillian ships powered down weapons, adjusted course, and began preparations to leave Earth's system. As the dominants turned away from the blue planet, Theron took one last look at Earth. It hung in space. Small and fragile, yet somehow defiant. A world that had stared down an empire and refused to blink. His communications officer spoke quietly. Admiral High Command is demanding an explanation. The Emperor himself has requested a direct report. I will give it, Theron said. Tell them the truth. Earth's defenses were formidable, and they had formed an alliance with other powers. Conquest would have cost us more than we could gain. They may not believe you. They will when they review the data. And if they choose to court-martial me, so be it. I have made peace with my decisions. But Theron knew something else. He had included in his official report every detail of Earth's defense network, their unity, their innovation. He had painted them not as a defeated enemy, but as a worthy adversary. In the Empire's military culture, such honesty carried weight. There would be hawks who demanded retaliation. But there would also be pragmatists who saw the truth. Humanity had changed the equation. They had shown that resistance was possible, that unity could defeat superior force. That peace offered first was not weakness but wisdom. On Earth, celebrations erupted across the globe. Humans danced in the streets, embraced strangers, wept with relief and joy. The Krillian fleet was leaving. They had survived, but Sarah Chen stood in the Geneva bunker, surrounded by her advisors, and her expression was serious. This isn't over, she said, echoing Theron's words. This is just the beginning. We need to accelerate our space program, build more ships, strengthen our alliances. The Empire will return, and we need to be ready. General Martinez nodded. We also need to reach out to the other species Theron mentioned, the ones who question the Empire. Build a coalition. Already working on it, Chen said. The Viridians have offered to facilitate introductions. Apparently, there's an entire network of species who have been waiting for someone to stand up to the Empire. We just became the catalyst.